if there would have been anything lingering with his head, I wouldn't have been able to live with myself if I prematurely put someone out there and put them in harm's way. This is a relationship that I have with this human being. So I take that serious, and I wouldn't have put him out there if there was any inclination given to me whatsoever that he was endangering himself from that previous game. I'll ever get used to. It will never feel normal for me personally, and the type of person I am that I know you guys are just starting to learn, is I'll never be comfortable with a player getting carted off the field. Ever. It's something you never want to be a part of. And when I put myself there, this is what happens. It's not fun. I'm just really, really, really glad that he's that I can hear normal Tua in his voice.
Somebody need to be fired. Now, I don't know who, but somebody got to go. At the very least, a suspension. Now, I don't know if it was the doctors and the trainers that examined him at halftime of the Buffalo game, put him back in. I don't know if it's additional medical personnel that were involved that gave the okay for him to be on the field last night. But listen to what folks have been saying since last night transpired with Tua. They say you had a concussion, then obviously it's easier to get another one. Within a span of 4 to 5 days, I don't care what anybody says. I don't want to hear anything about a back. I didn't see him hold his back. I didn't see him put his arms in his back. Not one time Sunday. I saw him get up. I saw that gross mobile instability. He got up, and he damn near collapsed right back down. I'm looking at Mike McDaniel, the coach. I'm wondering, what the hell are you thinking? Now, some people would say, hey, you're the coach. If the medical staff gives you the okay to play a player, then you go ahead and you play the player. But you're a human being. You got 2 eyes. You know what you saw out there. What about that? I'm looking at the NFLPA. Get your investigation going. Keep pushing. The NFL, do the same thing. Find out what the hell went on. And guess who else I'm holding accountable to some degree? His teammates. I want to go to Bart when I say this, because I know Bart is on the set sitting right next to you, Molly. Yeah. You're a player. You know what comes with this game. You are out on that field wearing the same. I'm glad I just saw Swaggo. I didn't see you for a second, Swaggo. I see you now. Thank you. Welcome to the show. I'm going to defer to the both of y'all when we talk about the players in this regard. You put on the same helmets, the same shoulder pads. Knee pads might be a little different depending on the player, whatever. You out on that football field. You're taking hits. You understand better than most, better than almost any of us, what comes with the game. When you saw him get up and then damn near collapse against the Buffalo Bills on Sunday, okay? What about you stepping in and saying, yo, bro, you need to get up out of here. You don't need to be on this field right now. I forgot the brother that was on the NFL show last night that brought up how one of his teammates, he had been concussed, and he tried to go out there, and the Whitworth, right? And he said, hey, Andrew Whitworth, and he said, hey, one of my teammates came up to me and said, no, he went up to the coach and said, he can't go back in there. So we've been bragging about, if you Tyreek Hill and the others, you bragging about Tua and what he going to bring to the table. You bragging about the accuracy. And I'm not saying anything was intentional on the part of the players. I don't mean that way. I'm not trying to imply that any player doesn't care about Tua. That's not where I'm going. I'm talking about the knowledge that you have about the game since you are a participant. How in God's name do you see what you saw in Buffalo? In Miami against Buffalo in the first half? You're perfectly okay with Tua coming out there in the second half, and then you got him on the field in less than 5 days for another NFL game. No one is safe here. Somebody needs to be suspended at the minimum, possibly fired. And everybody as an organization within the Miami Dolphins, as far as I'm concerned, got their hands dirty in all of this because you allowed this dude to get out on that field after you saw what happened this past Sunday.
A big part of the reason for your concern.
That's the main reason that I walked away. You know, I have a family, I have children. We know that the longer you play, the more risk you have down the road. So my decision to walk away from the game at 32 was based on head trauma. And, you know, when I watched this last night, I was disgusted. In the NFL and the Dolphins, they should be sick to their stomachs with the protocols in place that have failed Tua. They failed the player. And they're supposed to be there to protect the player from the player hurting themselves. Because a player, whatever you say, the player wants to be on the field. They want to play. That's their livelihood. They've been doing that their whole life. They're trying to provide and do things for their family so they can play a game that they love. If you see someone go down, and it's common sense, it's common sense. And I played a long time, you played a long time. When you see someone get knocked out, and you see someone go down, you're like, he's out. You know it instantly. When I saw Tua on Sunday go down, I said, well, that's not his back. What are you talking about? For a player to go down, when you get knocked out, you don't know what happened. I've been knocked out. You get up, you're like, whoa, what happened? I'm okay. I'm okay. I can go. I can play. It's up to someone else, a medical expert or someone that witnesses that to say, no. You just got knocked out. You don't know what happened. You might say it's your back, but we know, we saw it. So the NFL has to do a better job in knowing what to do if they see someone get injured the way that he got injured. It wasn't his back. You don't sit up, shake your head to get the cobwebs out, stand up, do it again, start to run and stumble on yourself if you have a back injury. It was a head issue on Sunday. They say it's a back issue. He plays Thursday night, 4 days later, and gets a massive concussion where he's froze up. So that's a problem, and it's a bad look. I have children. I have kids. After you watch that, you don't want your kid to play football. And you see all these commercials on safety of the game and future of the game. Technology is shaping the future of the game with helmets. But how do you protect the player on the field so where he doesn't have to fight through an injury to say, hey, you know what? I'm fine. I can go out here. I can play. I'm good. It's the doctors. It's your coaches. It's the NFL. They need to say, no. We need to have a better protocol in place to make sure that players don't put themselves in harm's way. Because the 44-year-old Tua is going to look back at the 24-year-old Tua and say, why did I do this? Now I have a family. Now I have people that rely on me to be around. And I've seen too many guys that are going through a lot of stuff. And it's unfortunate. I sat next, Junior Seau was my locker mate next to me. And I had to see things that you don't want to see that happen to people. So I don't want families to go through it. And you don't know. You don't know. There's an unknown here to the future, how long you played football with contact. What's in store for me? What's in store for everyone that played? It's an unknown. But it's your families that are going to be by your side down the road. You know, the head coach can go up and tap you on the shoulder, give you, hold your hand while you're going off the field. He's not going to be there 20 or 30 years down the road when you're dealing with a problem. It's going to be your wife and your kids.
To you, not only as a former player, but one who was a VP for the Players Association for a great many years. Term just expired on that a short while ago. But you understand the inner workings of that part of this as well. With all of that as the backdrop, what is your perspective on last night?
Yeah, well, I mean, the VP of the NFLPA is one thing. A former player is another thing. But being a human being watching that game is a totally different story. I mean, you heard about Nink and Canty talking about it. I couldn't watch it. It's the replays. I could not. I did not want to watch it. And part of the reason I think about this is people say don't sacrifice what you want most for what you want now. Mm-hmm. And I get it. In the NFL, okay, I want to go and win and help my team win and be the best teammate. I want to go and make all this money, all these things. But I mean, the point that Nick made was a great one. Tua's parents were the ones who were by his side at the hospital. Down the line is going to be his wife and his kids, his future kid. That's what really matters most. Towards the tail end of my career, early on, rookie sack record, second play, all these things, I was like, man, I did this, I did that. All of a sudden, an injury here, an injury there. All of a sudden, man, I'm not playing as well. What's going on? My parents would be there at the games. And their biggest thing they would say after the game is hey, at least you're healthy. And I'll be like, well, come on, guys. I want to go and make plays and get sacks and make all this money and take care of my family. But literally after every single game, mind you, I had a torn pec and I broke my leg. That's part of the nature of the game. But it's people, they would say, at least you're healthy. Like, thank God that you're healthy. And the issue I have here is we have Mike McDaniel saying, well, I wouldn't do anything to get in the way of my player. And you have NFL saying, hey, I know it was reported initially as a head injury last week, then it was changed to a back injury. And they're like, well, we followed all the protocol and go check in with the spotter, go check in with the consultant. And I'm sitting here like, bro, Tua's life has changed. His brother, Tali, who plays at Maryland, like, Tali is looking at this stuff, right? I have a brother who played. Like, at the end of my career, my brother, I was like, man, I want to go play. My brother's like, dude, you're so much bigger than football. There's so much more you can do in life than football, rather than subjecting yourself to this over and over and over again. And so there's a reality that I think people need to understand, that like football is great and you can make a lot of money, all these things, but there is actually life after football. So that's like, so you ask my perspective, sure, NFLPA, they're going to investigate in a week or two, maybe come up with some findings, maybe they're going to sue the league. Suing the league doesn't help Tua right now.
NFLPA, literally within an hour after that game ended on Sunday, said we are initiating an investigation of the circumstances that unfolded here in Miami today where Tua was allowed back into the game. And so we all knew that that was happening. And the NFLPA and the NFL both had to answer for that this week. And the fact that last night occurred and unfolded in the way that it did will only heighten the scrutiny on this investigation, raise the stakes on it, and it's unfortunate that it would take a situation like last night to do it, but sometimes that's just the way things work in the NFL. There was an event, a Sunday, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I don't remember the exact year, where all of a sudden there were 4 or 5 or 6 players that all suffered concussions on devastating hits. And it was at that moment, Stephen A., where there was a shift in culture and a change of perspective on the way concussions were handled. And the league has gotten more serious about them over time. And you have to believe that a situation and a circumstance like this one that unfolded last week will only ratchet up all the scrutiny and make sure that those rules are enforced in the future. Not to say that they weren't, but it says under the concussion protocol, gross motor instability is a no-go. And you make the determination, not me, about whether there were signs of gross motor instability when Tua was walking off that field.